Just Alex, yeah. As far as I know,
Just
just
Alex.
Alex.
Oh, that's really easy. Other than that, is any of the members in the public sitting in the other rooms, or
Not as far as we're aware of. They reckon this is going to be it, but if they do come, we'll be sitting in that chamber.
okay, that's easy.
That chair, that's all of the.
Should we take the chair away from the mic then? So that people can just come up to the mic and
Closer?
speak?
Yeah.
Okay, good luck, guys.
Okay, thank you guys. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Awesome. Yeah, you did it. I think you feel good. I think. All right. Okay. Now, one quick thing before we actually do start. So, this is the shared folder. Is there anything else that you can think of that we might need, or anything that looks right to you?
It's fine. Just renovate the agenda and you can send it
Okay, that's good.
The time is now 6:30 and I'll officially open this evening's meeting. like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I'd like to remind everyone this meeting is being live streamed, and could I also ask all attendees and members of the gallery if you can please ensure that your mask coverings stay on throughout this evening's meeting and that your noses are covered, please. Councillors need to note that tonight is an interim arrangement and councillors will need to speak up to ensure their voices can be heard on the live stream, please. The next item is item 4, attendance. Councillor Peterson-Pick is on a leave of absence. Councillor Ostrowski is an apology this evening. And I believe everyone else is here. Item 4.3 is, are there any applications for leave of absence from councillors? None? Thank you. The next item is item 5, disclosure of interest. I'll ask councillors if they have any interest they wish to disclose. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to disclose financial interest in item 11.1. I looked at the IRA.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. I'd like to display some contractual interest on item 11.2, about the mobile food van, the operated a mobile food van in the city Bayswater for 7 years in that capacity. I know some of the truck operators. The fashion is just not staying room. Item 10.4.5, basically, moving now I know there was a committee and we will volunteer at the event and the fashion is just not staying room. 10.4.3, proposed event permit at Winter Farnborough Rivat. I was very there and I know one of the deputies in Marshall with interest not staying in the room. Item 10.3.2, phase out for Kenya. I know most schools and the volunteer that they have assessed in partial interest and not staying in the room. And one that I declared last week, I think I missed the first one, is item 10.4.4, outline the area of freedom to the North and West Bayswater. I know one of the deputies.
Thank you. Councillor Ball.
Thank you. 2, item 10.2.8, annual review of regulation register. Amendments made have been influenced by the Commonwealth project according to the report. My home abuts the project, approximately just an order room. And item 10.4.4, proposed land use of 2123 North West Bayswater. Street maintenance and partial interest not staying.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 10.3.3, Miranda Town Centre, proposed would be formed for our speed reduction zone. I live on Middlebrook Avenue, it's unprepared item, and I'll be leaving the room as it's approximately.
Thank you. Any other interests? Thank you, councillors. I'll now move on to item 7, confirmation of minutes. Does someone like to move that? Councillor Palmer, seconded Councillor Earhart. Put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor. That's unanimous. Thank you. The next item is presentations, 8.1 petitions. Are there any petitions, councillors? Do any councillors have any presentations this evening? No. 4 delegates reports. Are there any delegates reports? No. So I'll now go on to public question time. We've received some questions relating to items of the agenda, and we've received them in writing. I see Mr. Roland Garside is here. Please come forward.
Obviously, the business for the CEO, everyone's out when they're on this evening, like everyone in the room. Is that the case? Yeah, so
Mr. Garside, if you could please just raise your mask above to cover your nose and mouth. Thank you.
Sorry about that. You caught me by surprise. I'm deaf. I couldn't hear what was going on. But,
I'm sorry.
this is to do with the proposal that the Peninsula Farm.
I'll just check if that microphone is on. Sorry, just one moment.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah. As a resident nearby the Peninsula Farm, these things keep, we've only been there 2 years, and this has been going on all the time. Every time he comes up, they come up with something, and it goes through meetings, and it's cancelled. I understand that this is only for 2 years. Can the resolution be for longer than that? Are we going to go through this every 2 years? That's my question.
Thank you for your question. The applicant has only applied for a 2-year permit, so they would need to reapply again to the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions, the DBCA, in 2 years' time. The DBCA would assess the application at that time and determine whether or not the permit application warrants referral to the city for comment.
We don't know.
For 2 years.
No. Do I get another question, or was that?
You've got up to 3 questions.
Oh, we've got one more. The events and the things that they hold at the farm area isn't policed in any way. When they have them, there's nobody there from the National Trust to ensure that they abide by the rules, that the people leave the area at the right time, and then the noise isn't too strong. It's just there's nobody there to police it. So what is the point of having the rules? We've got to police it, the local resident.
So the question is, what's the point of
Question
the rules?
is someone going to police the final agreement?
I'll refer to the CEO.
through you, Madam Chair, my understanding is that the DBCA and the National Trust have guidelines in which permit holders are required.
Sorry, I'll just check. Can you hear that response?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, do you mind? Okay.
Ms. Madam Chair, our inquiries with the National Trust and the DBCA is that permit holders are required to follow set guidelines for use of the facility. Any complaints obviously can be forwarded through to the city in relation to noise. But in terms of city employees overseeing activities, no, that's not the case. And I don't believe that the DBCA also carry out compliance. Beg pardon?
One would think that the National Trust could police it.
Well, as I indicated, the permit holders are required to follow set guidelines, which is handed out to them upon applying for a permit. So they are made aware of the requirements for using the facilities.
Yeah. So if there's any problem, we have to report it afterwards, after the events occur.
Madam Mayor, in terms of the city's response, we would still respond to matters relating to noise abatement if there's problems
relating to noise, then you can ring the city's after hours number and someone will attend.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The ball.
Just the because someone watching on the live stream say the audio is not clear. That's what
Thank you. Apologies to everyone. We may be experiencing some technical difficulties tonight, so I just ask the staff to see if they can fix that. Do you know which is it the audio from us or the?
I suspect it.
So I'll just ask councillors if we can all speak louder, and if you get another message, Councillor Bull, please let us know. Okay, so I'll move on. I'll ask if there's anyone in the gallery who would like to ask a question on an item on tonight's agenda. Yes, please come forward.
Just one question to ask all the councillors.
Okay, if you just don't mind stating your name.
My name is David Farr. I'm a resident of
Mike, sorry, do you mind just speaking closer to the microphone? Sorry.
Thank you. My name is David Farr and I live quite close to Peninsula Farm. So my question to all councillors is, you're voting on this tonight, three options. Have you all been to the farm area, which is quite close to residents? Have you actually seen it or spoken to someone who's been there or seen a photo of how close the residents actually are to the farm? Because you're voting for that, so I hope you've actually seen what you're voting for. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on an item on tonight's agenda? Please come forward.
We managed to have very good audiences, things like Baby Chappies on our select two and the Green Bay Wood, without disturbing, as I live right also, without disturbing people. We didn't need to have big dinner parties there, and we have had ANZAC services and emergency services without the necessity to have what the National Trust is asking for now. And as a life member for the council, I have heard.
Do you have a question?
No, that's what you go to do.
Okay. Councillors have heard and we'll consider that tonight. Thank you. Are there any other questions on an item on tonight's agenda? If not, I'll move to, are there any questions on an item not on the agenda? I'll just ask the staff member if they can check if that microphone again, because it doesn't seem to be working.
Hello?
That's better.
Texas. Thank you. Ian Waters, 124 Lawrence Street, Bedford. My question relates to the City of Bayswater's investment in the East Metropolitan Policing Council. Further to my question of the 24th of August regarding withdrawal of the City of Belmont from the EMRC on the 30th of June 2021. As previously requested, please advise details of financial impact on the City of Bayswater and the resultant return on investment. Please provide details, as I understand from the EMRC, contrary to your advice, you hold all the necessary information to provide clear advice. The accounts, I'm told, were provided to the City of Bayswater on the 25th of the 11th. I'm lost as to why the City cannot reply to my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll refer to the CEO.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. My understanding is the statements that were received in November were the annual financial statements. I don't believe they had all the information in relation to the withdrawal of City of Belmont from the EMRC. However, I will follow that up and confirm that for you. At this stage, I have not seen a detailed breakdown of a final position in relation to the withdrawal of City of Belmont.
Can I respond to that?
Do you have another question?
It's very unusual that if the Auditor General signed off some accounts and didn't have loan account balances explained clearly in the account. Didn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. We've received a question in writing from Mr. Andrew Charlotte. Are you here? Mr. Harvey Plunken? Would you like to read out your
I
question?
haven't got it here, sorry. I didn't think I might be able to get here in time.
Okay. We'll provide a response to you in writing. I'll just check if I've got a copy of those questions. Mr. Thompson, are you happy for me to read out your question?
Yes, please.
So Emerson Road and Morley Drive intersection, travelling west along Morley Drive and turning right into Emerson Road. The road in front from the west has a speed limit of 70 kilometres per hour. It is curved and often cars are travelling at a higher speed from my experience. When you are turning into that traffic, the conifers are slowly blocking the view of the traffic and it is an accident waiting to happen. I believe that the staff have planted unsuitable trees in this location. Question 1. Is it possible for the council to assess this intersection for safety of the ratepayers? The answer? The City has undertaken a visual inspection of the location and a desktop assessment of the sight lines for vehicles turning right from Morley Drive into Anderson Road using the relevant traffic design guidelines. Question 2. Will the staff amend this area with a view to protecting the ratepayers from potential injury? Answer. The assessment has found that several of the conifers partially block visibility for vehicles turning right from Morley Drive into Emerson Road. It is expected that visibility will diminish as the conifers grow further. The City will arrange to remove some of the conifers in order to meet the sightline requirements at the intersection. The City's urban trees policy allows the removal of trees if they are an imminent risk to safety. Although the vegetation in the median belongs to the City will need to first liaise with Main Roads, who have care, control and management of Morley Drive. The City will also explore opportunities for the further planting in appropriate locations along Morley Drive. Thank you. Just check. Would anyone else like to ask a question on an item not on this evening's agenda? If not, I'll close public question time. Thank you. So we move on to item 9, method of dealing with agenda business. So I'll go to Councillor Easton.
I'd like to, in addition to my motion to work by Chairman Secretary, I'd like to pull 10.3.3. 10.4.1. 10.4.5 and 10.5.1.
Councillor Sutherland. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So I'd like to call item 10.3.1, 10.3.2 and 10.4.3. Councillor Ball, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson.
So I didn't catch all of the ones that were here.
So far we've got 10.3.1, 10.3.2, 10.3.3, 10.4.1, 10.4.3, 10.4.5, 10.5.1. Councillor Maleka, Councillor Palmer. So I'll move on to first item, which is subject to absolute majority, is 10.2.1. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation? Deputy Mayor, do I have a seconder? Councillor Eveson, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Eveson. Would anyone like to speak on the motion? 10.2.1. Financial report for the period ended 30 November. Would anyone like to speak for or against? I'll go to the mover to close. Put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. Next item requiring an absolute majority is 10.2.4. Financial report for the period ended 31 December. From the mover. Councillor Johnson, Deputy Mayor seconding. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, just note that this one includes a rebate for nappies and
Deputy Mayor. Would anyone like to speak on this item? I just have a question to the director. Could I just get confirmation in terms of the cost nappy rebate of the actual budget allocation? Is it the 193,000 entirely for that initiative, or am I correct in that it's 10,000 plus 10,000, so the total budget being 20?
Where the budget is 10,000 via grant and 10,000 from the city. So the total for top number is $20,000.
Thank you. I'll go to the mover to close. I'll put that straight to vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Eveson, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ball, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson, and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. Next item, subject to absolute majority, is 10.2.8, annual review of delegations register, and Councillor Ball declared. Another mover for this item. Councillor Eveson, do I have a seconder? Councillor Maleka, Councillor Eveson. Councillor Maleka. Does anyone like to speak on the item? Councillor Clark.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise delegations before. I think how we delegate our parents. I'm slightly concerned that the number and scale of sub-delegations. So I think we should get that and then another things like that. Let's continue with the way sub-delegations operate and sub-delegated.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this item? If not, I'll go to the mover. I'll put it straight to vote. All those in favour? Councillor Maleka, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson, and myself. All those against? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Clark. That is fine. Sorry, I'll just get the vote again to make sure it's absolute. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. We'll now move, can I get councillor Ball back? Councillor, that item was adopted as per the officer's recommendation. The next item is subject to deputation, item 10.3.1, and that was called by the Deputy Mayor. Would you like to move the officer's recommendation? An alternate? The officers have the...
One moment.
Okay, so the alternate is the council. One, acknowledges the information received from the residents of 1 Sussex Street, Maylands, that they believe there may have been miscommunication between them and the city regarding the tree adjacent to their property. 2, does not require the installation of the 3 by 3 metre evangelism sign if the residents plant a new tree either on their property or on the adjacent verge at their own cost and to the satisfaction of the city. And 3, in the event the planting of a new tree is not completed within 6 months, the CEO is authorised to install the 3 by 3 metre evangelism sign in accordance with the city's urban tree policy.
Thank you. Seconded by councillor Palmer. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I wanted to do an alternate on this one because I think it's really important we work with our residents and we work to achieve the best possible outcome for the residents as well as the city. And the best possible outcome in this scenario is instead of just having a big massive billboard to shame someone is to get more trees in. And I feel that this delivers that. And if they don't comply with that, or they've indicated that they are happy with that way, if they don't comply, then the sign will still go ahead as per our policy. And I see this as the best possible outcome.
I'll just go to the second one and then I'll take questions. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do agree with
Sorry,
Mark. I do agree with everything that has been said, and I respect the officers' wisdom in their item. They're following the rules they've made, but they're following the rules, and it's up to us around this table to see common sense for our ratepayers, and that's why I support this item as written.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. So my question probably to the mover is this in addition to the vandalised tree?
Yes. Would anyone like to speak on this? Councillor Eason?
Yeah. And exactly this is the right approach to align the tree management. I'm grateful for support.
Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Lightfoot?
I do think that's a very sensible approach where you highlighted that I think it's a possible miscommunication between council, the city and the local.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. I have had a look at the tree. It looks terrible. It doesn't look anywhere in line with the other tree. I think the pruning, I'm not a pruning expert, but it doesn't look like anything an arborist would do. I really follow this one because I do want to support that policy that talks about the protection of tree workers. But I'm happy to support the recommendation. I think because we will add extra trees rather than this. But I think it was a nice day. I think it was a good report that we got, and yeah, more trees.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? If not, I'll go to the mover to close.
Is this one turned on as well? Sorry. Where's the microphone? Yeah, just to say that I have been over to the property to have a look at the tree to see how it is growing, and I would agree that it has been rather excessively pruned. Having said that though, in 5 months it has got quite significant regrowth and is looking quite, green and healthy, so, they could have, if it was a deliberate attempt, they could have taken it out or killed it. And then, to get in an extra tree as well as retain this, in the growth that canopy, I think it's a good outcome.
I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay. The next item subject to deputation is 10.3.2, Baygut Wetlands tenure, and that's been pulled by the Deputy Mayor.
I just put this one to move the officer's recommendation.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. I think it's really important that we continue to support and grow our natural environment areas. The Baygut Wetland Interest Group has been doing such a fantastic job down there, and I would like to see this become an A-class reserve, and this is the way to achieve that.
Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. I think having this progressing a previous decision of council to try and get this all under management, city based audit is a good thing, and I'm glad that we're hoping that we can progress it quickly, so we can continue the management under one group, and that the Wetland Interest Group can continue to do the good work and to work on this site.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Anyone for? If not, I'll go to move to close. Put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Blecker, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Easton, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Gould, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson, and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. That is adopted. Next item subject to deputation is item 10.4.1. Proposed amendment to the town planning scheme, and that's been pulled by Councillor Easton. Would you like to move the officer's recommendation? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Johnson. Councillor Easton?
Yes, so this has been a very challenging item with both pros and cons for both outcomes, and I've drawn my attention back to the underlying principles of proper and orderly planning. Therefore, I agree with the officer's recommendation. Despite this view, I do not agree with the numerous justifications presenting the relatively new terms of planning circles of sensitive land use. I do not believe that this has substance in this instance, and it is not influencing my voting tonight. Point I would like to make, I am frustrated by the effort and associated costs borne by competing businesses to tackle and extinguish this proposal. Our preference would be for these competitors to refocus this effort and money into developing and improving their own business. Be better. Offer a more modern and competitive product. I look forward to seeing business improving proposals in the very near future. Back to what's on the table. I'm supporting the officer's recommendation because the alternative reinforces what I see as an outdated car-based planning model, not a focus on vibrant, active, walkable communities. I am supporting the officer's recommendation because the Bayswater Town Centre is already struggling, and approving this discretionary use would apply further pressure on that established precinct, further diluting the customer base, not aligned to the proper and orderly planning of the area. By supporting the officer's recommendation, I am not eliminating the opportunity to provide consumer choice and competition to our district. And I encourage the applicants to seek further opportunities in more suitable locations. Please do. Ashfield or perhaps the Bayswater Activity Centre would be far better locations for a development like this. So, sorry, cancel. The report that was delivered for the Rand Council, the proposed 40K is now, regardless, the report does not identify any issues.
Sorry. This is the proposed amendment to Town Planning Scheme 24 Lot 4, 504 to 508 Wilford Road, Bayswater. Yeah. fine.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, what was I saying? I'm not eliminating competition to the district, and I encourage that in particular opportunity in Ashfield or Bayswater. I would even go as far as to request the applicant to be actively engaged with the city to identify such locations and opportunities. In my opinion, Bayswater welcomes investment. Lastly, a point related to our industrial areas. I am supporting the industrial office recommendation because the state as a whole is grappling to retain centrally located industrial land. Industrial land is being replaced with housing and other land uses rapidly, destroying much needed economic centres. Employing hubs, yes, jobs. These are my views and reasons for supporting the recommendation on the site, and I encourage council to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. And likewise, I was disappointed to hear so many hesitations from competitors. That was, really quite interesting insight into retail. I thought it was a great report, so thank you to the officers for preparing that. I was originally persuaded to support this application because it would add local convenience for our residents. But I'm hoping that that convenience can be met by our neighbours at the town of Bassendean with their review of, as pointed out in the report, and with their review of their local plan scheme 11 in the Ashfield district centre. So hopefully that will provide some services for our residents as well in that area. I was actually persuaded that changing the use in this area would impact on existing businesses in the area with the use of the buses. And I know industrial areas aren't for everyone. They're can be noisy and smelly and inconvenient. But I just seen that local manufacturing is really vital for our supply chains, our local economy, and to jobs in our region. So on that basis, I think that emphasis in the report on protecting our industrial areas is great to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Palmer?
There is no.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to speak against the officer's recommendation and put forward a recommendation to accept option 2 for the proposed amendment, number 95 to TPS Scheme 24 for Lot 4 of this item, for 3 main reasons. 1. The correspondence received by the City in September 2021 from the Department of Water and Environment Regulation that it would not need an environmental assessment. 2. The correspondence from the Heritage Directorate of the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage, DPH, that there was no objection to the proposed amendment. 3. There were submissions received from good professional bodies, some very commercial comments, understandably, and some not giving a precise reason, just comments. 2 large shopping conglomerates are mentioned as being economically affected by this one individual store being located here. In my opinion, I feel this is to be anti-competitive reasoning. In speaking for amendment number 95, the forward-thinking plan that it would be beneficial to have a shop in this location will be a future necessity, and this has been omitted from the overview of high residential zonings in this area. The pictorial view represented in the agenda shows the area from Guildford Road to Greengarry Street. What should also note is the high residential area behind and adjacent to this location. It's all residential with river living and different zones right to the river's edge. If we acknowledge infill areas in Perth, then of course we must give access to residential needs locally, not always having to either shop away from the locality to Morley or Bassendean or elsewhere. A further advantage would be the train station through Metronet, allowing convenience of commuting, shopping and home. How can you have a train station and no shops? That is an undeniable inconvenience to travellers. No comment or opposition has been given by the immediate local businesses to my knowledge, but please correct me if I'm wrong. When I say local, I mean those adjacent, behind and in front, not one opposition. I feel the sensitivity of land will not be compromised, as this has already been given the all clear from the DWER and DPLH, as I've stated previously in points 1 and 2. Buffers and sensitive land uses were mentioned in written comments. As a comparative analysis, the concrete batching plant in Collier Road was given the all clear 100 metres from existing residential areas. Therefore, in my opinion, the excuse of sensitive land use is irrelevant in this amendment. I understand that the shopping magnates like Galleria and another big magnet are understandably against this store being opened here. They are business people, of course they will oppose a competitor. That's what they're supposed to do. But we here in council are speaking for the people and also of common sense and future direction. The DWER confirmed in writing that it would not need an environmental assessment. So where's the sensitivity? The DPLH confirmed in writing that there was no objection to the proposed amendment. These are both statutory state departments. In the SPC policy 4.2, activity centres for Perth and Peel allows for, and I quote this word brilliantly, aspiration. And that's been quoted by huge, conglomerates of architects, aspiration. Positively speaking, it's opposite the train station, is closely aligned with huge residential areas in Ashfield and Bayswater, and it's a sign of progress to have free-thinking businesses that are not going to destroy other businesses or compete against each other. It has always been an aspiration to improve the Guildford Road corridor, and this will be one small step towards this, and for the community, both business and residential. I support this amendment, and I hope that we will all go for option 2 if this fails. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Carr?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to speak in favour of this motion, and I want to explain why I think the change of vote is part of my council. I think this actually shows this is why we're told. So when you get feedback from the direct perspective in the area, you really do see the impact of it have. And so backing my decision making is building a recommendation into their existing businesses and the way that their role and their contribution to manufacturing is relatively unique and it's difficult to move somewhere else. Industrial areas that we already feel squeezed, particularly as the state government as we contribute to building towards Metronet along those corridors, which were traditionally industrial land in Bayswater, they will squeeze more and more. So I think it's actually appropriate that we pause on this signage and preserve this area for the existing businesses and for manufacturing. The impact on them, have such a great impact on them in my decision making and taking into account the objections and public consultation.
Sorry, Councillor Carr, we just got some feedback that you can't be heard on the live stream. Do you mind using the microphone? Thank you. Sorry, just to clarify, so I want to explain, speak in favour of the officer's recommendation and explain why I essentially changed my vote since this item at council. Last time I spoke in favour of competition and thought that it would be an appropriate site for development such as this, but this is why we consult as a council, and this is why we then read the submissions that come in and consider them closely. And in considering those submissions, one of the factors in my decision making is that it would have such a great impact on the existing businesses in this area, particularly those that contribute to manufacturing. There's a difficult businesses to move because of the nature of the business, and so it's too great an impost on them and this area to go support the officer's recommendation and I've considered the public submissions carefully in doing so. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? If not, I'll go to the move to close. Nothing to add. Put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Maleka, Councillor Eveson, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Ball. That is passed. The next item subject to deputation is item 10.4.2. Proposed single-storey, single house, including street removal, lot 44, Arundel Street, Bayswater. Do I have someone who would like to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Johnson, do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson.
So, you know, I had a good look at this and I had a look at this place today, with regard to, the deputation that we heard. I think that the, location, I think we heard a deputation saying that, commenting on the visual privacy of the setback area. And, also I just, yeah, I'm going to go to the setback area. I just noted, having a look at the slide, that setback area is at the front of the house. And so I was less concerned about that variation of the setback in terms of its context in the neighbourhood. And also it sounds a bit like a neighbouring dispute, and that's you know, sort of really unfortunate. And what but obviously the decision that we have is just around this particular issue, not only on the ongoing issues. I had a look at the trees. It's a jacaranda tree that's been talking about being chopped down. Unfortunately, it's under power lines, as all the trees are there. So it's like 3 trees. And our policy says that you know, you can't not have access to property. So one of those trees is going to have to be one within the so I'm happy to support it.
Deputy Mayor, would anyone like to speak on this item? Or move to close? Nothing. I'll put that straight to vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Easton, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson, and myself. All those against? Councillor Ball. That is adopted. Next item, subject to deputation, was 10.4.3, proposed event permit for Peninsula Farm, and that was being pulled by the Deputy Mayor. Would you like to move the officer's recommendation? Do the officers have the wording?
So there should be a few minutes.
Yep, that's fine.
You just get the wording on the screen.
This was adding another limb onto one. So that was adding on limb B, which caps a maximum of 12 what they're calling commercial events, but is limited to wedding ceremonies, so not events or receptions, just the ceremony, and birthday parties with a maximum of 99 people, and only between the hours of 8 AM and 6 PM. I'll just all have a read of that for a second.
Is that good?
I'll withdraw my second. No, I'll just check if there is a seconder. Would anyone like to second the motion as on the screen? Councillor Eason? Go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, so this is basically, the first part in 1A is what is already allowed for with the, under the current events proposal that's been operating for the last 10 years, which is the Easter Fund, the Family Fun Day, the Anzac Sunset Service. I haven't attended the Human and Social Sciences Week, and there's also the Christmas carols. So they've been running in harmony with the local community for quite some time. The reason I've added on being there, it is strictly for wedding ceremonies and birthday parties during the daytime only, and capped at a maximum of 12 over the course of the year. As we know, there's lots of wedding ceremonies that do sometimes occur with or without permission down there. This is formalising it into a structure of a limit of 12 with strict parameters around it and the hours of operation. It is a beautiful venue down there, and I do feel for the residents down there because the housing is has been constructed quite close to Tranby House, and it's there is no adequate buffer down there, but it is a beautiful venue that we should be sharing with the wider community as well. And I feel that this does this through allowing the National Trust to continue on with the 4 events that they do a year anyway. I would like to see those continue, particularly the Christmas carols down there are one of my favourite Christmas carols across the city and district. But we should also, it is an ideal location as well for wedding ceremonies, so I do hope that this gets supported. I think it is a good balance. They won't have any impact on the residents down there.
I'll go to the second one.
Yes, so look, I think it's very reasonable and considered approach. Economic sustainability of the site, it makes sense to use some disrepair around in that area, so it will assist sustainability, which has been an ongoing issue. But the solution, I feel the solution is quite considered. Obviously, as you get in there points out, putting limitations on frames, people, and capping, it's very explicit, so I feel like it's a good balance. And it's going to assist in the community as delivering a better service to the broader community, mainly it's very important. So we need some things to get people into our area. I think this is another one of those things.
Councillor Johnson.
I have a question from a member on that. This one, is the amendment in line with what the National Trust has requested?
Yeah, it is in line with what they requested, but I believe it's not what was communicated through the local community when they originally went out about the events. Then there was something much more broader scope. But this is what was presented during deputations last week about just wedding ceremonies and maximum attendees. I've thrown in the hours of operation just to be sure that it doesn't impact on any nighttime activities in the local community or on the local homeowners at nighttime.
Well, thank you for clarifying. I also wanted to also add some amendments. I'm just wondering if the movable effects of the amendment.
Do you want to read the amendments and then?
Sure. I have provided them to the city, so perhaps they can find them, but the gist of it is
I'll just see if they can get up on the screen if they've got the wording.
it might be just the last few points. Yeah, okay, so I've worked in up there point 7, 8, and 9. So an additional point, since we are making, I won't go into that. So an additional point to say public access to the riverbank and riverbank rest restoration at the Peninsula Farm site is to be undertaken by BBCA. And point 8 is the BBCA National Trust of Western Australia to increase their acknowledgement, promotion, protection of the Peninsula Farm site and other site funding management as a significant Aboriginal heritage site in consultation with the appropriate Aboriginal stakeholders, representative groups. And item 9, I can read out in full if you like. It's just about better waste management at the Sensitive River site. So requesting that a ban on single-use plastic, prioritising the usable food and drink packaging at their events, and that waste management there prioritises in line with our waste strategy and the safe waste strategy, that the waste management prioritises FOGO or composting and use of the container deposit scheme. So we have less that case.
I've just got to read out to see if the amendment is sure it's amendments.
Yeah, I'm happy with those.
And the second one?
No, just a question. Can you scroll up? It looked like it said that there were no commercial, so no.
No, it's only letting in 7, 8 and 9 to be additional to what's on the table. So do you agree to those amendments? Yes, so they'll now form part of what's on the table. Did you want to speak to it just before? Is it financial interest? Okay. Just helpful. Councillor Johnson, would you like to speak to the amended motion?
Thank you. Yeah, so happy to support the amendment as put forward by Beth in there. In line with what we heard from the National Trust at the time, so I want to run there. In general, I'm supporting so in general, it is a beautiful, peaceful heritage location that should be better utilised to share with the community. It is very close to residents and answer questions in the gallery. Yes, I have been there many times. I've been to events that have been held there. I've been there to the cafe. I walked my dog past it today. I realise it's very close to the neighbours and where they have been putting the toilets, to talk to some of the bits in the report where they put the toilets right along the pathway, disgusting and it stinks. So I'm glad to read that they are starting to put proper toilets on that location in the next 12 months. And in the meantime, like put toilets on the path so that the neighbours will be a good thing. In terms of this request, it's a referral request, so we're making our comments to BBCA. So while we're here, let's just look at how it goes to Riverbank is. There is no public access to the Riverbank at that location, which is not in line with, I forget what strategy is or plan, but to enable public access to all our riverbanks. Because this is an opportunity to put it out there and say, you know, to back up that face for the public and to make it accessible. It's terribly loaded, in fact, that better. And, you know, I acknowledge that National Trust needs money to do that, but this is, you know, going to save our land. So they can come to asking them to do that, while we have the opportunity. In terms of the Aboriginal acknowledgement, we heard, and as part of when he was part of the council where he had a tour of that area with the what was then the Aboriginal Advisory Committee that does there's very significant Aboriginal heritage on that site, and we've heard identifications about shown in the area. I think the National Trust of Western Australia has not done well in acknowledging the Aboriginal heritage of our areas, and I'm taking the opportunity to ask them at this time to do better in that, to acknowledge not just the history but the land on which it was built. In terms of waste management, it is a sensitive riverside site. There is absolutely no place to throw away plastic and rubbish. So we can ask them to do better than that by encouraging reusables and where that's not possible, compostable alternatives. And the container deposit scheme, I will talk about that because there's so many containers that are just being tipped into the recycling that aren't going through the scheme. Maybe the National Trust will get some money back and then purchase with that scheme. Sometimes 10 cents, 10
usually in the area which we've had this.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against Councillor Palmer? Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't think I've got the numbers, but I'm going to try and I support the officer's recommendation and understand that primarily in this item there will be no commercial events such as weddings and birthday parties. And in this instance, because we now have an alternative motion, I have to talk against that. There are many reasons of concern to refuse this type of commercialism within the Peninsula Reserve. One, this sensitive land area has been associated with great heritage and great historical knowledge of significance to the area. Welcome to country has been respected with local Noongar elders for the WA National Trust for years. The DPRH, Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage, needs to review any permits for activity in the area. This includes the works that are occurring with artefacts discovered here recently. The practicality of community events, not commercial events, such as Easter Day, Anzac Day, Christmas carols and others, are well accepted by the local community. And they understand these are community-based programs. Any commercial events, such as weddings and ceremonies, are of no benefit to the community and therefore not consistent with the orderly and proper planning for the Peninsula Farm Reserve. Having commercial ceremonies and weddings, whether 10, 30 or 99, would have a detrimental effect on the environment and would cause undue damage on a regular undertaking of A, placing and removing structures constantly of unknown sizes and areas with this Peninsula Farm Reserve. B, interrupting the community's access. C, no noise assessments during and finalising a commercial event. D, will commercial constructors using parking bays to erect the event sites, e.g. toilets, tables, archways, shades, lighting, etc. 6, the Trust would be signing over the management to a third party on each commercial occasion, as they would not be on site for each event taking place. No Trust oversight. 7, the access to the Peninsula Farm Reserve would not allow access to the general public or community when the areas cordoned for these events. 8, parking is a no-brainer. There wouldn't be a satisfactory remedy for commercial needs either at the car park or surrounding residential streets. 9, most importantly, previous artefacts have been discovered and are in the process of custodial care with ongoing decisions for display and housing at a later date. This can be honoured in the written deputation received at the briefing for this week's ordinary council meeting. Briefly put, I stand with the city and the community in supporting the officer's recommendation and do not support the alternative. And I'm hoping that a request for the DBFCA to undertake and investigate indigenous significance of the site is of paramount importance. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. Anyone? Councillor Ball, would you like to
Can I just ask a question first? So, the officer's recommendation 3 says Peninsula farmers not used for commercial events such as weddings and birthday parties. My question is, why was that included by the officer as part of it?
I'll go to the director.
The city's officers have recommended that no commercial events be held on the basis that there's insufficient toilets on site and insufficient car parking. Events that have been held in the past have largely gone through the city's community development events permit process and haven't come through the statutory planning system. So that's been rectified with this application. So in terms of commercial events, there's insufficient toilets and car parking.
Thank you. So, I will speak on this, if that's okay. Well, just a second question. I did have a look. I wasn't able to be here last week, but I did watch the stream before this evening. And and just kind of my question, just piggybacking off Councillor Johnson's question around whether the proposed 1B reflects what the National Trust was asking. I thought they were talking about 10 commercial events. Did I misunderstand what was spoken, what was discussed last week?
Sorry.
So my question is to whoever can answer it. How many events was in the discussion last week? Was it 10?
He specified, yes. Sorry, I'll go Deputy Mayor, would you like to answer that, or would you like me to further direct that?
I don't know, I just, whoever can answer it.
The direct
Through the Mayor, the report states that it's 10 events.
Thank you. That's not what was asked by the National Trust. So I'm not going to support what is on the table here. I'm going to support the officer's recommendation on the basis that, we've heard councillors talk about orderly and proper planning a lot tonight. Well, let's talk about orderly and proper planning. We've heard from the director that this proposal doesn't comply with requirements around toilets and car parking. And it also doesn't reflect what the National Trust asked for, which was 10 commercial events. On that basis, I won't be supporting this, but I'll foreshadow the officer.
Councillor Easton.
Just a question, follow-up question. So, in regards to 1B, the limit, so a maximum of 99 people for an event, does that require a permit?
I'll go to the director.
The above 100 persons requires a permit.
Would anyone? Would anyone else like to speak on this item? If not, I'll go to the meeting to close.
Thank you. Yeah, there's quite a few things to address there, so I'll try and keep it brief. I completely appreciate Councillor Palmer's sentiments. I can't say personally I've been to too many weddings where they with ceremonies where they're erecting a whole bunch of stuff. I might just be, I don't know. Councillor Easton is quite correct that at the moment you don't need a permit to have an event if it's under 100 people there, so they can have unlimited weddings, ceremonies, parties, whatever. This is an attempt to put it into line so that there is some control over it, so it isn't unlimited and so that there is requirements in place. The National Trust did ask for 12, so I still do think this is in line with what 10, and I do still think this is in line. I upped it from 10 to 12 because I like things neat, and 12 means one a month, so for me that's nice and neat. So this is about keeping it all so that it is manageable, so that there is some control, bearing in mind that we are just making a recommendation. We are not the final determining body in this. We are making a recommendation. So I see, weddings, it's a wedding ceremony. My understanding is that the original officer's recommendation there with the then stating weddings was that the understanding was that it was possibly the wedding receptions. That was clarified at the deputation that it's not the receptions. The intent was just the ceremonies. So the ceremony and reception are two different things. So I hope that adds a better clarification for people around what those parameters are. So currently, you don't need a permit to go and have a party down there or have a ceremony, whatever. This brings it down to 12 a year for the whole year, and that's split between the two. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Maleka, Councillor Eason, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Earhart, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Bull. That is adopted. Can we please get Councillor Clark back in the room? Councillor Clark, an alternate motion with the amendments was adopted. So we'll now move on to item 10.4.4, which was subject to deputation, proposed land dealings, lot 2123 Norco Way, Bayswater. This hasn't been pulled, so would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Bull, do I have a seconder? Councillor Johnson, Councillor Bull. Councillor Johnson? Would anyone like to speak on this item? Deputy Mayor?
I really struggle with this one. I did support this originally when it came through because I suppose the expectation was that it would be a more equitable distribution of this laneway that would still permit, if both people wanted, access from the rear of the property there. And the distribution that's come back there appears to me quite inequitable because it would prevent if somebody if someone 68 wishes to access their property from the rear in the future, they won't be able to do so. So I'm struggling with this one. I don't support what the officers have got on the table there, and I don't know what to do with this one. So I'm really struggling with the concept of the way that this has been split up on here. So I'll have to listen to the debate.
Would anyone else like to speak on the item? If not, I'll go to the move to close.
Thanks. Yeah, firstly, I just wanted to say thank you to the officers for working through this. It's a complex scenario, and I think it's great that it's got to this point. Finding a resolution is really important. I think that's the most important for this area. And what's before us is something that has been looked at very carefully and should be supported by the Council of Trustees.
Thank you. I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Palmer, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson. All those against? Councillor Maleka, Councillor Eason, Deputy Mayor and myself. That is adopted. So the next item is absolute majority, item 10.4.5, Daisy Rollers Movie Nights, and that's been pulled by Councillor Eason. Would you like to move the officer's recommendation? Just get the wording up on the screen. Would you like to read it out?
So the motion is that council grants a donation of $750 to the Daisy Rollers for the fees and charges associated with the organisation of the movie nights at Burt Wright Park, Bayswater, on the 29th of January, 26th of February, and 12th of March 2022. Subject to the Daisy Rollers acknowledging the city's contribution on all associated promotional material.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Eason.
Thank you. Look, it's only a minor, I guess, an alternative motion on a minor change. It's mainly about record keeping. I'm completely supportive of events, donations, and essentially waiving of fees for events that deliver community benefit. And events that are delivered in a coordinated and organised fashion aligned to objectives and part of an overall plan. There's no issues here. This simply makes the financial contribution noticed, visible, and accounted for. And as such, I request council to support the motion.
Deputy Mayor?
Thanks. See, I think this is in line with what we used to do, instead of like doing that, just a waiver. I can't remember who brought it in a few years ago, but it was about accounting and the bookkeeping side of it, so that there is accounting somewhere, because even waiving the fees, there's still a cost associated. So this is just, as Councillor Eason put, bookkeeping measures so that there is accountability for it. We obviously want to support these great groups in our community, and Basil Rollers is a fantastic local group. So it's about it's just about making sure that that is accounted for.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak on this item? If not, I'll go to move to close. I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Eason, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland. That is adopted. Just check, Councillor Eason, did you pull item 10.5.1? Sorry, just before we get to that one. You've pulled item 10.3.3, Councillor Eason?
Yes, that's right.
Would you like to move the officer's recommendation?
Yes. Sorry. No, I was just looking for the it's still in the
Sorry, and alternate motion.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. So do I have a seconder? Councillor Maleka? Councillor Eason?
Yeah, so, look, just the report was very thorough, didn't identify any issues, very reassuring. It shows compliance with posted speed signs in the area, that's pleasing. I'm aware that there are speed compliance issues in our community. It also shows the traffic volumes are more than comfortable given their classification A and B. Further to the report, there have been no reports of crashes or cause of concern. So more so outlining that given the data collected, any further submission to main roads will most likely be rejected anyway. Which is why I agree with the removal of removal of links 2 and 3 and put forward tonight. There's lots of trouble areas that do need focus and investigations to date. But this is one of them. The effort isn't wasted. The report's written. It's getting noted, it's stored for future reference, but I can't support more time, money, and focus being applied to other priorities. We encourage you to support.
Thank you, Councillor Maleka.
Well, also echoing Councillor Eason's sentiments there, I've actually lived in that area for over 20 years, my local, and I've never heard of any complaints in all my time there, and so I don't think there's any need to spend any unnecessary resources in unless we get any further complaints.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this motion? Councillor Johnson? Sure. Would you like to speak now?
Sure, I think this item came because we were looking at in this area for the now. Consistent with areas that we want to make safer for pedestrians and other processes. This other waiting for waiting for compliance, it's essential to do that again. And yet, because I've pretty objective with the
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Can I make a comment?
You've already spoken. sorry, councillor Bull.
Just like to thank Councillor Fox for foreshadowing the officer's recommendation. The goal is, my understanding is the goal is to slow the traffic down, to make it safer for people, pedestrians, cyclists, to make it a more walkable area. We've seen it work in other commercial precincts across many areas, including 8th Avenue and Kimberley Street and Logan Street, the closest ones that come to mind. And I think we should actually be going directly to main roads and requesting the works that are needed to bring the speed limit down to 40 k's an hour, because what the data tells us is that the 85th percentile is around 15 to 17 kilometres above that 40 k an hour, and all the studies show that there's an increased likelihood of survival and less injury as a consequence of someone being hit by a car travelling at 55 kilometres an hour compared to 40 kilometres an hour. So it's also about road safety.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? I'll go to the move to close.
Take on board the comments about trying to reduce the speed limit. And 80% is something I know quite a bit about, being an avid car enthusiast. So I keep my racing track. 80th percentile is the determination of, if you are not close to the speed limit, the speed that people will drive. In this is literally across the internet, look and read about where it originated. So what that says is, if you took the speed signs down, what speed would people drive? They're driving 60. That's the speed limit. So at this stage, I'm sort of moving to another report, and we can consider this another time and phrase push for this. But at the moment, people are complying, they're doing as you probably expect them to do. There's been some upgrades to Bernard Road and Denver, just recent times of roundabout. There's other activities planned for the Hill Road, so it's time.
I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Moeka, Councillor Easton, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor and myself. All those against? Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson. That is adopted. Can we please get Councillor Palmer back? The next item is 10.5.1, by Councillor Easton. I'll just wait for Councillor Palmer. Councillor Palmer, that item as amended was adopted. We're now on to item 10.5.1, appointment of community representative state and park development advisory committee. Councillor Easton, are you moving the officer's recommendation?
I'll prepare that alternative motion for the officer to have.
Please put that on the screen. Would you like to read it out?
So the alternative motion is that council amends the terms of reference to the Skate and Bike Development Advisory Committee to increase the membership of the industry community representatives from 3 to 5. Point 2, appoints applicants 1 to 5 as industry community representatives to the Skate and Bike Development Advisory Committee for the period up to October 2023.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor. Councillor Easton.
Thank you. I'll keep it short. It's only increasing it mildly. So the previous SADAC delivered some great achievements, raised awareness and boosted funding, grassroots engagement and feedback. Some great community outcomes despite challenging situations. Noting that there were 10 community representatives in the last iteration of SADAC, and previous iterations struggled to make quorum. Is there a limit? So basically, increasing this quantity will ensure that we get a better spread of community representatives. I think we should reward the people that do go to the effort of applying and are bringing through their submissions. They're all very good.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I served on the previous iteration of this committee, and yeah, we had 10 community representatives last time. I'm not averse to bringing it down, but I do think that because when we have committees that do represent with representative with community members, the community members should at least have the number of councillors on there. So by bringing the community representatives up to 5 and councillors at 4, I think that we should still have a strong community input. So I support this.
Would anyone like to speak on the item? Councillor Palmer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to support the item, but I still think it would be more ethical to have the same number of councillors as there are representatives. And as my name hasn't been on the new one, if I had my name on it, would make 5 councillors and then 5 community members.
So you're moving an amendment to add Councillor Palmer as an additional councillor representative. The mover's happy, seconder is happy, so that will form part of what's on the table. I'll just make sure they get voted in.
Through the Mayor, just been tidying that wording up to amend the terms of reference to increase the council representation as well. So.
This point. Yeah. You already allowed it? Okay.
Okay. Just take out the amendment and just leave the.
Councillor Palmer, would you like to add anything further? Would anyone like to speak on this item? I'll go to the mover to close. Put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. So that's all the items under section 10 that has been pulled. Do I have someone to remove the remaining items of block? Councillor Palmer, I'll second it. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. We now move on to item 11, motions of which previous notice has been given. Item 11.1, Councillor Earhart, Deputy Underground Power. Yeah, Councillor Sharp. Can I just see if there's a seconder? Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you. Yeah, I won't be involved with this, but I think the report sums up exactly. The main thing I want to say about this one is that we absolutely need to be looking at underground power and all the options of achieving underground power. I wanted this one to be strictly arterial roads to start with, because we need to start somewhere, and I'm confident that we just can't do the whole lot in one big bang. I want us to be serious about underground power, because if we want to get serious about canopy, underground power is one of the ways to that. And for all of the reasons listed in the report about the benefits of underground power in terms of the increased amenity, being able to decrease pruning, all of those things, I think it's something we definitely need to look at. Can I leave it at that?
Councillor Sutherland? Would anyone like to speak on this? Councillor Palmer?
I'd like to speak against it, please. There are 2 things in this world that are unachievable: underground power everywhere and world peace. And really and truly, I say with great respect, I had to disagree with the motion for the underground power consultancy costs as shown, requesting our CEO to act in points 1 to 4. To engage with Western Power is good, but the feasibility report is expensive and unwarranted. The initial amount of 30,000 is unrealistic, and the proposed report to be presented in December 22 will be costly and could be double and more. Looking around the room and seeing our CEO, directors, acting directors, infrastructure, works and multiple managers, all highly professional and capable of preparing a report as per previous state government offices and works that were once proposed for Drake Street in Bayswater and Mayland Central area. They have the knowledge and expertise and state contacts. We do not have to pay through the nose in outsourcing for more consultants on a project that may not be financially feasible. We're talking millions and millions. We all know the benefits of underground power, and we also know the cost sharing is given, such as the SUP program. When sewer connections commenced, each home paid for their fair share, and on purchasing an unsewered property, this then became a connection responsibility of the new owner. So cost sharing is a given, I'm sure, for SUP. I envisage that West Power already has a very long-term plan for undergrounding power within the city and arterial roads. And arterial roads are not our objective. That's main roads. And it goes without saying that when our infrastructure is ongoing, we liaise with state bodies to coordinate groundworks accordingly. Road, rail and underground construction is a moving feast, and what consultants advise today can be very different tomorrow. So with respect to the motion, I cannot agree to spending on outsourcing an expenditure of consultants, but understand that our own officers, managers and directors can be readily connected to liaise with Western Power and others. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this motion? Councillor Ball?
I'll just ask a couple of questions. Sorry, last week. So I'm interested to understand a bit more why I've never seen the word provisional used that I can recall in a motion before, whether that comes through the officers or through the council. So I just want to understand why the word provisional amount is being used here as opposed to this.
I'll go to the director.
If I may, through the chair, the use of the word provisional is primarily comes from the fact that we don't have a fixed price on how much it would cost at this point in time. We have to draw up the scope, and based on that scope, we'll be able to determine what the prices are. So at this stage, looking at an amount that is allocated doesn't necessarily mean you use the whole amount, but we use potentially up to that amount.
Just have to follow up. So they had to kind of contradict slightly what I read in the report that it could be 60,000. So are the officers concerned that it's going to cost more than 30,000 or less than 30,000?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, at this stage, likely to cost up to $30,000, but potentially cost more, just depends on the scope. What we do is that if it came back as being more than 30,000, then we bring it back to council's scope.
One last question on that. In my experience, underground power lines really focus on more residential areas, and I'm just interested to understand why what's being proposed is something that deviates from that.
I'll go to the deputy magistrate. I'm happy to put that close with that's right.
No.
Okay, the intent behind it, Okay, so to answer your question in relation to why the arterial roads instead of residential, I think that the residential option that we have at the moment underway in Maylands with the State Underground Power Program, I think it's 6 or 7, that's been going the entire time I've been on council, which is what, 6.5 years now, it's still hasn't even really started being implemented. I think they're only just finished design. So the intent for me for looking at the arterial roads comes primarily down to canopy, two main things, Urban Island effect and canopy. And in order to try and get the Urban Island effect down, you need to shade those hard surfaces, and where the majority of those hard surfaces are on the big arterial roads, because typically in the more residential settings, you do have on the verges grass or other softening things that aren't as heat absorbing. Unless they've got flat grass. And it's also about along the main roads is where you're more likely to have businesses, main public transport routes, etc., where people are walking, trying to get from A to B, cyclists going past, etc. So it's about getting that, allowing that canopy to come in, not only sinking the powers and getting rid of power lines, but allowing that canopy to come in over those hard surface areas where people not only walk and ride in the main areas like the town centres and stuff, but shading the road so we can try and minimise the Urban Island effect. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you for that. I do have, sorry, one other question if I may. To determine the previously adopted underground power project, what was the nature of the feasibility studies that were undertaken at that time, and who paid for it?
Okay, the director.
Through the chair, I was not aware, I wasn't involved in the previous project establishing that, so I'm not aware.
So I'll go to director major projects.
Yeah, through the chair. Basically, the most recent one is the stage 6 sub project. Basically, there wasn't a formal feasibility study. That was basically done through the application process for sub. So there's multi-criteria analysis that's undertaken by Western Power based on all the submissions that we did. And who paid for it? Well, they undertake that analysis at their cost. Okay. I'll speak now. Thanks for the indulgence. I'm not going to support this for a couple of reasons. One, that I feel the kind of I don't think that the memory of Councillor Red or former Councillor Red comes to mind. He was always very clear about the importance of having more certainty in how much things are going to cost when councillors are considering an item, and I think Councillor Everson actually referred to that with the Noranda Town Centre 40k hour item, the importance of thinking about spending there. So it seems to me that we don't actually know how much this is going to cost, and without having more certainty around what the cost of the ratepayer is going to be on this, I'm not comfortable supporting that. I think we need more certainty. I think I get the feeling that there would be the possibility for the city to be able to provide more certainty around this, these costs, but for want of actually knowing how much this is going to cost, I'm not sure that we should be proceeding with this at this point.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this item? Councillor Easton? Questions? Go ahead.
Just to the relevant director, just as an estimate, what are we spending on tree pruning spray?
Through the chair, I don't know the exact figure, but it's substantial amount.
And just a follow-up question, so there's definitely some sort of power line being constructed and hit by a street registry just recently, that I'm aware of. And I imagine we have quite a few of those around. Is there an estimate on what we're paying out of insurance because of power lines and trees?
Through the chair, I haven't got those figures that do occur. The exact amount, I'm not sure.
just one last. So you mentioned before that the provisional amount of up to $30,000. So as you mentioned, if it was to get higher than that, according to scope, the scope can go from this to this. You wouldn't go any higher than the 30,000. Is that correct?
Through the chair, I'll bring the matter back to council. If it's capped at 30,000, I'll bring it back to council and have council decide on if I want to see whether it's taken up to a higher value or whether the scope is reduced.
Look, I'd like to speak a little bit on the account. So I'm speaking in support of the alternative motion, the Deputy Municipal Courts. With the motion just put forward, because there's an aspect to the arterial roads, and when I read through this motion, arterial roads for me is about beautification as well as our city. So you mentioned the island, you mentioned Canopy, which are all going to be challenged or are challenged for us. But the arterial roads for me is also a way to beautify. So you read in the western suburbs have got green and leafy. Arterial roads are what people see, and then the ones that will drive by and go, geez, that's a nice place to live. I might look at Bayswater. So I think there's other impacts financially to the reputation of Bayswater as well, because we don't have a great reputation for tree canopy, but instead. So yeah, I'd encourage others to support this motion that the Deputy Minister put forward, because to me, the concerns that Councillor Bull raised in regards to not knowing that's been addressed. And we are spending a fair amount of money on tree and power line interaction.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this motion? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. I'm really torn on this one too. I agree. I've heard promises from people for years about promising underground power, but or promise stuff that we can't deliver on, because ultimately it's up to us. Definitely the first link about engaging, to try and get that underground done, absolutely. Whether that's something that we can reasonably do, I don't know, sort of start the process can be ridiculously expensive, but I am genuinely for this one. I'm not entirely convinced that underground increases tree canopy without having necessarily been my observation. I think you can get the spotlight before I think I'm just not sure.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on the motion? I have a few questions to the director actually. Just following on from the questions by Councillor Bull and Councillor Easton, can you just clarify that in 3, when we're talking about $30,000, and you said if it was to be higher than that, a report come back to council, is it only for consideration in the draft budget? And by adopting this the motion as is, we haven't actually committed to spending $30,000, but we're committed to considering it as part of budget deliberations.
Yeah, that's correct.
That is correct. That's all. I'll go to move to close.
Thank you for those questions about me. Yeah, that actually clarifies that, this will come back to council so that we can control the spend on the study. So if we need to, we can reduce the scope or we can increase the budget. That'll be the two or not choice. Those are the 3 things, the 3 options that will come back with if it looks like it's going to go north of 30,000. We do need to get serious about the canopy, and when referenced, Councillor Easton references the western suburbs. The other thing that's also referenced with the western suburbs is how the majority of it is all underground power. That's why they're able to achieve the canopy. The Midlands as well, all of them, underground power, canopy, hand in hand. I will just answer one question Councillor Easton asked about the annual cost of pruning. I actually asked that question around that 6 months ago. The answer I was provided with was $850,000 per annum in tree pruning. 450 of that was just under power lines. Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, just a question, I presume that's the pruning of trees for the whole of the city of Bayswater and not just one suburb.
Deputy has clarified that. Yes, that's correct. Okay, I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is councillor Maleka, councillor Easton, councillor Sutherland, deputy mayor, councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Palmer and councillor Ball. That is adopted. Can we please get councillor Clark back? Councillor Clark, that item was adopted. We now move on to item 11.2, Councillor Easton Regional Motor Vehicle Registration Permits. I'll just check if we've got a seconder. Deputy Mayor? Go ahead.
So food trucks, registrations and permits, a constantly evolving area that delivers vibrancy, builds community and celebrates multiculturalism. Wonderful outcomes, but also an area that exposes the labyrinth of processes, procedures, policies, checks and balances. In other words, lots of red tape. Thank the officers for their work on producing the report. It clearly shows the labyrinth that I'm talking about. So it's been no surprise the contact I've received from food vendors, both active or inactive in our community currently, that the process is difficult, slow, costly, and not adding as much value as it could, to the point where I'm confident our community is missing out. This needs to change, and that is the intent of this motion, a top to bottom review. I'm hearing that for the first time. It sounds pretty costly and difficult, but that's not the case. Working with our city officers, it became clear to me that there are concerns in the current system, but other local governments have worked through these and delivered solutions, which simplify the situation dramatically. Top to bottom review that turns more into a gap analysis. Identify an issue of concern, note it, and apply an already proven solution. So what's included in this motion in this review? In short, it's been left quite open. The motion is broad, intentional, because as I mentioned already, I'm confident our officers are onto it. They see the difficulties, they miss opportunities, and the potential community value. I wish to empower them to identify the issues and encourage them to seek already working solutions. Our only guidance would be to look holistically, to consider the processes and procedures I've already mentioned from a regional viewpoint, like working with adjoining local councils, as Vic Park has done in October of 2020 with Gosling and Canning, where they deliver a streamlined process but retain the required government. Also consider future-proofing, an example being under environmental initiatives like the move away from single-use plastic. How can we expedite compliance during this review? I encourage other councils to support what's on the table, even more so as we move further on certain times with human changes to border and economic conditions due to COVID, a factor in the delivery timeframe and why, if our motion is successful, we can expect to see a report back in March this year.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'll just add on to that, I think, look, there's more and more things we should be looking at for a regional approach. This is one of those things that we can be looking to make it easier, not only for things to happen in the city, but for people who do business in the city.
Would anyone like to speak on this item? Okay. Councillor Palmer?
Just asking a question on there's one bullet point which says the potential to have a single point of approval for the Food Act 2008, certificate of registration and mobile food vehicle permit. So that's 3 points all put into one bullet point. So I'm a bit concerned about why and who would be the single point of approval.
I'll go to the director.
Actually, Madam Mayor, it would be run through the Community Development Directorate. So the certificate of food, that one and the mobile food permit would be issued as one permit potentially under the one directorate. So it's something which can be organised.
Just checking again and confirming that the food vehicle permit and the certificate of reg will both be under the city's guidance.
Yes,
not outside the city.
no, they're both city issued permits.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak on the item? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. I mean, I thought as a third person here, possibly that has years experience of working with this regulation, would be not to speak on it. Personally, I found that it wasn't really a policy process to apply, and the city staff actually do a great job of, facilitating that. So, but I do know there's ways that it can be improved, and also, we have different permit systems for different types of vendors, and also to be a bit more environmentally aware of the type of conditions that we have. It's a great opportunity to realign and to maintain different practices. So I hope that's kind of the review. In terms of and also I just probably want to point out that my understanding is to operate in the river catchment area, you need permission from the FCA as well. So that probably needs to be sort of pointed out to vendors or somewhere, incorporated into the
Thank you. Councillor Clark?
So I just realised one of the two current permit holders is property there. Is that political complaint or
And you'll stay in the room. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this item? If not, I'll go to the move to close. No? I'll put this straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Next item is 11.3. Councillor Easton, deliver of a new community safety and crime prevention plan. Do I have a seconder? A seconder. Go ahead.
So the motion I'm putting forward tonight is the result of ongoing concerns in our community about crime and safety. People deserve to feel safe in their homes, and for many in our community, this is the case. Safety and crime impacts our lives in many ways, not just physical and mental health. Socially, it affects our community spirit, financially with insurance premiums and even property values. The city's reputation feels impact too, a deterrent of future investment, big and small. Community safety and crime is far-reaching. This is the reason why supporting this motion is vitally important. Historically, the city was merely a adopter of our own paid security service, leading the way. Nowadays, the paid service is almost the standard for local governments, but many in our community may comment on how safe it's used to be. So you ask, what's the motion trying to achieve? A few pieces of paper will not single-handedly reduce crime, nor is it wise to throw millions of dollars or resources at a problem without a plan. I acknowledge that and that is not the intent. The intent is to deliver a strategic, well-considered community safety and crime prevention plan. A plan that confirms council's commitment to ensuring our community are safe, and this is an act to acknowledge we are listening and we are taking action. In the detail, the plan needs to have clearly defined actions, transparent measures, and quantifiable outcomes to provide a solid foundation, I believe, that our city needs. Foundation that will guide us now and in future decisions, so we do not see erosion of service levels or delayed response times that we've seen in the past. The evolving concern is ensuring proper integration with Metronet, projects that will significantly change and disrupt their surrounding community. This new plan can capture the preliminary discussions and direction given by relevant stakeholders involved in these community-altering projects. I thought this out, that integration of this station needs to be very carefully considered with the city's overall systems and processes to ensure that our future running costs are kept low. Costs fall by ratepayers long after the project manager walks away. The new plan enables inclusion of vastly updated smarter technologies, AI cameras, number plate recognition and the like, to reduce administrative burden and response time, more effective deterrent and prevention service, the rollout of our paid services need to play, not taking place of supplementing police but complementing this. The new plan can consider incentives for ratepayers to take up installation of CCTV at the public, protecting not just themselves and their neighbours, but the broader community, like the recent example last around North Highway. The suspect was quickly apprehended with assistance of key details and footage retrieved from the community CCTV. More eyes on the street. A new plan can also consider purchase of mobile surveillance trailers, providing the ability to move quickly and easily to areas of community concern. A proactive and flexible approach to direct connections to the community. Once again, eyes on the street. And finally, a new plan can consider benchmarking our security and ranger services to ensure it's delivering as intended and as funded, now and in the future as our district changes and the community grows. Ensuring we have adequate resources, administration, CCTV and equipment maintenance on the beat as our security in our community as rangers and preventing and deterring crime, boosting that feeling of safety our community needs and is asking for. I encourage other councillors to support this motion and provide adequate funding to deliver a comprehensive plan that confirms council's commitment to crime prevention and community safety in the district.
Thank you. I'd like to just say thank you to Councillor Easton for bringing this issue forward and taking leadership on this. I'm very happy to second it. It is an issue that is constantly brought up with me with our residents and ratepayers as something that I want to see the city taking action on. I do, I do want to make the point that it is very much a police issue as well. But I think there are a lot of things that this city advocates and works towards that are state government issues. And even though they are, we are taking proactive steps in other issues as well. And this is how I see this fitting into what we've done in the past. Having a plan, a strategic level plan that we work in collaboration with the police services, I think is really important. And I echo everything that you said, so I'm happy to second this. Would anyone else like to speak on the item? Councillor Johnson?
I'm not in support of this item. I don't like this stalker society that, we've got this perception of rising crime and doing safety because the report published at times going down. I think actually it's safer because more people on the street driving and walking and the community information that we do is going to create a feeling of a safer community rather than, going all CCTV on us. We had a strategy for CCTV that came out the previous plan. I know that, we did have a previous plan. I don't think going and spending those or doing more in space because so many things we do are about building a better community, and I think the focus on time is creating a more a sense of fear and unhappiness in that community. I think that's focusing on the positive because we are just talking about perceptions here, and I definitely think it's our role to go to the police.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer.
This is a question, particularly employ a full-time renter or part-time. That's an extra one on top of what we already had this year.
I'll go with the director. I didn't hear your question to be honest.
Sorry, I just wondered, I thought it was in the budget last year that we were doing an EFT and that it may have changed to part-time as ranger or security.
It's our understanding that it was one full-time ranger.
One full-time ranger. Thank you.
I just wanted to seek clarification on the answer to the director. Can you please confirm that FTE, does that put towards a ranger or a security service? Because I've been informed that they're actually separate roles.
Unfortunately, I can't confirm whether it's, but I can confirm that rangers and security are separate roles. But I can't confirm whether it's a ranger or a safety officer.
Do you mind taking that on notice?
Sure, absolutely.
Please go ahead.
Can I speak to them? And I do thank Councillor Easton for the well thought out item. And I look at the graphs that they've shown, Bayswater down by over 30% since 2018. Then you look at Bedford down by another third up to 2021, it's still going down. You look at Hamilton, and that's also also heading down, not as good, but heading down. They're all heading downwards in the amount of illegal offences that have occurred, morally down, from 3,000 to just over 2. Everything is going down, and therefore I respect what Councillor Johnson is saying, is that we really need to be practical on this. And I also would like to say that further down, we have our conclusion from the officers. The principle of the CSCPP supports the transition of organisational strategic incentive program. Development of a plan will incur an indicative expense of approximately $30,000, and aspirational actions will require additional funding exceeding the life of the plan. Some fluctuations can be incorporated into business as usual activities without the need for a plan, and can be monitored and reported upon utilising existing systems. So what that says is positivity in how our rangers and security are within the city are handling these situations. We're not policemen, we're rangers and security. We help our community to assist, and we help in advising, and we've been doing that for years and very successfully. And from what we see here, the city is quite happy to say the plan that we have in situ now is working, and therefore I'm sorry to say that I can't support this.
Thank you. Would it, Deputy Mayor?
I would concur with what you said, Madam Mayor, in that, you know, policing is definitely a police state government matter. However, City of Bayswater has had a security service since, well, actually I can't even tell you when it started. We were one of the first councils in WA to have a security service. And it is something when you talk about to anyone from our community that they're happy that we've got it. This plan, I see, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I first my gut's like, oh, you know, it's just doing the state government's job, taking away from the police. The police should be doing all this. But we also have a role for our local community and supporting our local community. And having a plan achieves that. Our local security supports the local police. They work in, they were not in collusion, but they work in supporting each other. You know, it's, I think plans like this are a good support for our officers. They're a good support for the community as well. You know, I read here about the key relationships that have been established during the course of the first plan, which I think is great, which is collaboration with the Noongar Outreach Service, 55 Central, specifically to support, or those parts specifically to support vulnerable community members. Working in partnership with WA Police to reduce offending and improve community perception of safety and security. These are all good things. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to support this going forward. You know, it may be anecdotal information, but the anecdotal information received from Wacol is that the implementation of our CCTV has contributed to reduction in criminal activity at Noranda Sporting Complex, Riverside Gardens and AP Mines Reserve. So while I'm hesitant to spend $30,000 on another plan, it's one I think that if it's got strong actions and strategies in it, it's one that will benefit the city officers, the city, but most importantly, our community.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Sorry, can I just ask a question? During the report, it says the development and implementation of the new plan will enable the city to focus on new and emerging crime types. I'm interested to know what they are.
I'll go to the director.
Through Madam Mayor, I'm not aware of what those new crime types are. It may be relating to cybercrime or white collar crime. It's, I think the holistic review of the plan will highlight what those may be. In terms of the previous question I took on notice, I can advise that it was one community ranger which was employed in this budget. Did I speak?
Not really, no.
Would anyone else like to speak? If not, I'll go to move on to close.
Yeah, thank you. That's probably a few things to address. It does note in our office report that removal of WA police branch funding is an anecdotal reason as to why other local governments are moving away from generating these plans. There is a federal government funding that does come up in both communities from I feel in the interest of an ongoing commitment to community safety, our ratepayers deserve transparency and accountability from us. A plan with clear and concise actions linked to measurable deliverables that a well-constructed crime intervention and community safety plan can provide. This priority was clarified again by the community perception survey completed in July 2021, noted as a top critical issue the city should be addressing in the next 5 years. And one last thing to address, there is a lot of safety issues, and as I mentioned in my initial introduction to this motion, we do go upwards, or that cost shifting that does occur. We have homelessness strategies. These are things that maybe fall outside the remit, but definitely we need to are a community issue that communities are great for.
Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Maleka, Councillor Easton, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark and myself. All those against? Councillor Parham, Councillor Johnson. That is adopted. We now move on to item 12, questions from members without notice. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Easton?
I'm just interested in the most current information regarding the difficult intersection of Gilgrave Ave and Molly Drive. Last year there was a traffic count of the speed check done, both pre and post stress that it does take to also condition of the intersection. Has to be advised in that data or any forthcoming plan.
Good chair. In terms of those traffic counts, our understanding that Main Roads does take those, and Molly Drive is on Main Roads. So they come with those traffic counts. We haven't received those counts, as we understand, we will be asking for those. In terms of what proposed for the road and that intersection, some plans have been submitted to the city. Those plans are 5%. Drawings 5% basically means that the concepts were early stage drawings. Those provided those to the city for comment. Comments have been sent back to Main Roads. Probably just to give a little bit of insight into those plans, they're actually looking at improving sightlines along Morley Drive as you're coming out of Gilgrave. This issue is a vertical curve for the rest of the road, makes it difficult for people to see what's coming to the right. They're looking at potentially realigning eastbound carriageway slightly and reducing the height somewhere between 6 and 8 metres point. They're looking at doing some retaining those changes. They're also looking at putting in certain structures, certain properties as well. So the city's provided some feedback on those designs, and we've also provided comment stating that this is preferences for traffic lights available. We want the road safety inspection that was done by the city back in which basically suggests that traffic lights
Sorry.
Road safety inspection was done by the city, which basically stated that certain traffic lights is a solution to that location. So the feedback that was given to Main Road basically improved that position. The traffic lights would probably be a solution there.
So I just wanted to follow facilities we have in around the town centre, specifically for the Morley Bowling Club, situated in the Morley Miranda Rec Club. Has there been any progress in delivering signage for them?
Go to the director. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. At our last meeting, I asked that the progress can at Riverside Gardens, and in the answer to these minutes, it says that, this item will be considered as part of the business plan for the area, and I'm just wondering if I could get an update on, is that business plan being developed now, or the timeline for that?
I'll go to the director.
I
don't think there is a time frame. Some work has been done, so some pre-work has been done. I think the plan was to look at having some form of workshop with councillors to see what their appetite was in terms of some of the aspects around the precinct planning. So I will share that will be happening in the next month or two.
Any other questions, Councillor Johnson? Anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, we'll move on to item 13. There's no business of an urgent nature. Item 14, meeting matters for which the meeting may be closed. Okay, so we'll just take an interest from the director.
Yeah, through the chair, I've got clear interest in 14.121, appointment of acting CEO, it's a matter that does affect my employment, and I will be leaving the room.
Thank you.
To the chair, I would like to declare an interest in 14.1.2, recruitment of the appointment of acting CEO. And I'm going to not make the room.
Thank you.
Yeah, so with me, 14.1.2.1, appointment of the acting CEO, also in the room.
Thank you. Okay, do I have someone to move to go behind closed doors? Councillor Palmer, do I have a seconder? Councillor Bull? All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Easton, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark and myself. All those against? Councillor Sutherland? Pardon? You were for, sorry, I'll just read that again. So all those in favour was Councillor Maleka, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Easton, Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark and myself. All those against? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Johnson. Can you please close the doors?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Excellent.
Well done.
Thanks for that.
That was hard.
So she say 8:54. Yeah, I switched off the stream. Andrew asked me to turn it back on, so oh, not just yet.